Used to look good like, well, actually, I never looked as good as you, but it's fucking going away fast, dude. I look like Keith Richards' younger brother. Fuck. You know?
But to finish your question, it's if you can imagine doing anything else, you should probably have a backup plan, you know. And I at first could imagine doing something else, so I had a backup plan. But like I said, as you start to figure out what you're really about, I mean, I couldn't imagine doing anything else, and I had to just go with this.
Perfect. Well, I'll say this: you got some loyal fans out there. So I want to get folks involved because we got a ton of new people in the website. I want to thank all you folks for being a part of it. Cody, you got something for us?
Yeah, we got a ton of questions in English and Portuguese and Spanish. So I'm just trying to use my skills here to translate them.
Trojan man.
Ask me in Spanish.
You know, I'm going to stick to English just for the show's sake.
Because he doesn't really know any other language, Jacob. He's trying to seem freaking worldly. Nice try there, Trojan man.
Yo puedo hablar español, man. Okay. All right, let's see here. So we got a lot of aspiring songwriters in the chat right now, and I believe it's Luca asks, I'm going through a time where my friends are criticizing me on some of my songs, which makes me feel a bit insecure. Do you have any advice on dealing with this from a songwriter standpoint?
If your friends are in your band, then y'all need to talk. If your friends are not in your band, then fuck them.
Fine advice there, by the way, Mr. Hemphill. And you know, nice to see I'm not the only one with the show. I want to, you know, before we take another question, I want to pick up on that thought because so many artists, you know, Jacob, you know, are trying to figure out what they should be. And what was striking about my conversation with you yesterday that I was thinking about last night is you are very comfortable, it seems, in your artist's skin. And that's not always the case. I want to play a little clip, not so much for you, but I'm interested to get your thoughts, but for the friend who just answered that question. Cue up the True North clip. This is a little clip we put together when we started this website, some little kind of big picture thoughts about how to get your head in the right place. I think it might help our friend, but I'm interested to get your comments as well. I have this thought that I've shared with artists over the years, and it has to do with this notion of finding your compass and finding your true north. And I think what it really means is understanding who you are, understanding where it is you want to go at the biggest picture level. And the reason you need to do that is because once you get into the music business, you will have all kinds of competing agendas and forces pulling on you in different directions. You know, you write a song and you've taken a path and it's not quite going well. And somebody wants to go, well, you need to do this, and you need to do that, or you need to be a little more like this or a little more like that. And if you haven't got a clear sense of what you're about, if you don't have a clear sense of where you are and where you want to go, you will be pulled off course frequently. True artists, whether you like their music or not, have a clear sense of who they are. And the great ones definitely did. And that's why they're so easily identifiable. I saw Willie Nelson the other night. Willie Nelson started in the country music where it was strings and violins and very polished, and he said, no, that's not who I am. And then he became the real Willie Nelson with the bandana and this and that. He's 80 years old. He's still out there being Willie Nelson at 80 years old and couldn't give a shit about what anybody thinks of it. That's staying true to your compass. And I think it applies not just in the music business, but about in life in general. The people that are never sure who they are, that are just waffling from place to place, you never know how close they are to coming out the other end of the forest. So for me, it's figure out your compass, you know, set it and trust it. You seem to have a really clear idea on what your compass is. You could have chosen pop music. You could have chosen easier roots than reggae music, but you wear it like you own it, my friend. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, I don't, there are so many comments I have. Was that you talking there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good, dude. That was good. I've got a lot. That's like the story of my life, man. The problem people have when they're finding their compass, though, is that they think it's about choosing. And it's not. It's about being chosen. You know, and then once you're chosen, you have to listen to yourself, and you got to believe in yourself. When I was a kid, people would kind of you kind of choose what you're about. You know, so like this week you're about this kind of music, and next week you're over that, and you're about this kind of music. But that's all you just find in yourself. But one day, yeah, you gotta figure out what you're really about. And every artist, you said Willie Nelson, but I mean James Brown or Jimi Hendrix or the Black Keys, someone from nowadays, or Brandon Boyd, or you know, all these people have this quality where they are themselves, and they can't put out a record that doesn't sound like themselves, and they can't act in a way that isn't like themselves, and that's what people are buying into. It's like going to see a movie with a bunch of characters nobody gives a shit about versus going to see a movie with a bunch of really well-written characters with a lot of backstory and a lot of personal convictions and beliefs, and a couple of them are maybe in love with each other, and there's some other stuff. You care about those people, but the guy who goes up and wins American Idol, that's like a fad to you. That's like, well, you'll be over that soon because that guy has to move on. And, you know, nothing against American Idol or any American Idol winners, but it's two completely different things, and I agree with you.
And by the way, folks, you know, it's not easy. It's an ongoing process. You know, there's no tried and true answers. Let's take another question from the chat room there.
Yeah, this one's coming in hot from Brazil.
Brazil.
Yep.
Oh, we're going to talk a little bit about Brazil later, but take it away, Code.
This one's from Maria. Let's see. So she thinks that your latest songs are more about relationships. Is that true? And will you sing more about system and politicians later?
Well, I got an album right here. First one's called Mentality. Second one's called Strength to Survive. Third one's called Everything Changes. Fourth is called Don't Worry. None of those are love songs. Fifth one's called Tell Me. That's a love song. It's Not Too Late. Gone Today. Not love songs. Let You Go. Love song. Not Done Yet. Love song. Slow Down. Not love song. Be With Me Now. Love song. When We Were Younger. Not love song. So it's 8-4.
8-4.
But yeah, I've been doing sad love songs since I started. That's been my go-to love song for 12 years. I've been writing this since I was a little teenager guy. That's an easy song for me to write. I don't know why. Super sad love song, lots of rain, lots of things not working out, a lot of heartbreak. Somebody gets screwed over maybe. I love writing those.
That sounds like country songs too, you know. You got another question?
Yeah, I love country music. I love bluegrass. I love folk. Well, reggae is Jamaican folk, you know. I like folk music of all kinds. Hip-hop used to be folk. Folk is just an oral tradition, just telling a story, passing it down through generations through music. That's my favorite kind of music. What happens is rich guys get their fucking hands on it and they fuck it all up, but that's another thing.
That's another whole show. We'll come back. That'll be our late night show there, Mr. Hemphill, you know. Jacob and Rennie pissed off at the world and going to fix it. Okay, let's take another question from the chat.
I'll open a bottle of wine. The sun's still out, so I can't open a bottle of wine. But if you call me during the night, we can get it in.
Well, you know, you're more likely to get a call from me early my time than late because I'm not drinking wine, but we're both got the same idea. Let's take one more from the chat room there.
Yes.
Chico.
Well, speaking of country music, this could be a song or a title for a country song, but they wanted to know where did Prison Blues come from?
A good friend of mine wrote that. I didn't write that.
Okay.
All right, easy answer. All right, I want to go and talk again about another kind of big picture concept that has, you know, to do with the rides. For all the folks that want to talk about the music, I'll apologize. For the folks that are trying to figure out this business, it's been my observation after 35 years in the music business, but an observation in general. If you're looking to do something great in your life, whatever it might be, big things are typically bigger than any one person's skill set, enthusiasm, and so forth. So this idea of putting together a team and picking your partners becomes a very important part of the equations. And I think one of the questions I get most often asked, Jacob, is how do I find a manager? What do I look for in a manager? You know, where's that person going to fit in the mix? I'm struck by the fact that your manager, Elliot Harrington, you have a picture of Elliot? There he is, who dropped by the office. As I told you the other day, I can sniff a manager mentality in about 2 seconds. They have just a look in their eye. You guys figured out and found a young manager that has grown and pretty much been there with you the whole ride. Talk about Elliot a little bit and talk about how important it is to get somebody outside the music involved to help shape the dream.
I don't think you can say how important that is. Because if you're a good musician, you're not a good manager. It's just a fact. It's two very similar and very opposite skill sets. You both have to be creative. You both have to have a dream. You both have to see your dream through. But managers have to do it with people, and you have to do it with melodies. And the process is different. I was lucky to have Elliot. He saw me play when I was 14 at a school dance at his high school. It was me and Bobby and Bird and Kenny and our buddy Eric. And we played, and he was in the audience. And he came up to one of us and he said, look, I think it was me. And he said, I want you to play a party at my house. And so we went to his house. This guy had lived in his own house in high school. to tell you what kind of manager he is.
Love that.
Yeah, had his own place. We thought that was pretty cool. And went over. He's got this huge party. He's got a go-go band in the barn. He had like a barn and like a lake in his yard. I mean, it was out of control. And go-go is DC music for anybody who doesn't know. But the cops came. I started, reading from the Bible about Babylon. And on the mic to the cops. It's what you would imagine a bunch of little Ross Trent guys doing at a barbecue. But yeah, Elliot, he's been managing us since we were teenagers, and I've been best friends with that guy and with all the guys in SOJA for my whole life. And we don't ever question him. I mean, the guy's a genius. But to answer the question, I really just wanted to tell stories about Elliot. But
go ahead.
To answer the question, how important is it to find a good manager? That's very important. But what you really need to find is someone who's your friend and who inherently wants you to do well. You need to find someone who looks out for you at every turn and really believes in what you're doing. And they can learn all the other stuff. All the getting your foot in the door, how to be a good manager, how to do everything they can learn. But when we built this band, we built it finding good people first. And if they didn't know how to play an instrument, whatever, we'll figure it out. But we didn't want any dickheads around us who were gonna not believe the vision and the dream.
You know what? It's one thing for me to say that to people. It's another thing for the artists out there to hear it too. But the truth is, folks, the most successful bands, the most successful artists, have managed to figure out that piece. And as a manager myself, I can tell you, and I'm sure Elliot would agree, most managers would love to have been the singer in the band if they're being honest, and they couldn't.
It's true.
And but when the band fulfills their dream, I can just tell you there's nothing more gratifying than standing at the sound desk or wherever Elliot stands. I've set out safe distance and looking around and seeing a plan come together. Part of getting a team together too is having somebody help you with the marketing and getting the music out there. I noticed that you guys managed to do a ton of records, a bunch of EPs, DVDs, and so forth, all without a big label. But you're now part of a bigger organization, the Red Light ATO. And I know how important that can be. It seems to me sometimes a band can be doing everything right. And if you use the analogy of two mountains in a valley, you could be doing everything right, saying all the right things, doing all the right things, and your voice it's difficult for your voice to be heard at the bottom of the valley. The same effort, the same music, the same message delivered from the top of the mountain, it's heard by everybody. Talk about what a difference it's made for you guys in having an organization like Red Light ATO be part of the team now.
It's kind of like a different world, instead of Elliot trying to book the shows and book the appearances and do the publicity, and he can now kind of focus on managing this band. And then there's all these other people who are really good at all those millions of other things that need to be going on. But bands don't need to start that way. Bands don't need to I realize there's a lot of young people out there listening. You guys don't really need to worry about getting to where I am. And I don't really need to worry about getting to where the next man is or the next woman is. There's always another thing. We did 2 nights in Denver. Now we want to do Red Rocks. Once we do Red Rocks, we'll want to sell out Red Rocks. Once we sell out Red Rocks, we'll want to do 2 nights at Red Rocks. It's not really about that. I think I might be going way off this question.
No, you're not.
It's not about, having Red Light there and having ATO Records there makes us able to be musicians, and not worry about the next step or where we have to go. All we have to do is enjoy ourselves and show that through the music.
Having a great team behind, if I could jump in there, from my perspective, this is what I see for you guys now. It's the equivalent of having a big speaker stack when you used to play acoustic. Most of the great managers and the great companies understand artistry, and they accept it for what it is. And there's a great level of trust involved in the process. And I find in the best scenarios, a great label, a great agent, a great manager, are just your big fucking Marshall stack behind you. They're not making the music.
Yeah.
They're just making sure everybody hears it.
It's the truth. Those guys are very good at what they do. We used to try to do all the jobs that they do ourselves. And I look back and I'm like, man, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We knew 2 things. 1, how to make music, and then Elliot knew 2, how to manage this band. And we were like okay sort of attempts at other stuff, but there's no comparing being with a great group of people that believes in you, like ATO or like Red Light, and being without them. My dad always tells me that the only good part, as my money comes up a little bit, he always says the only good part about having money is not thinking about money. And it's true. People who have money don't think about it. They just live their lives. And it's kind of similar to me, having all these people supporting us and out there speaking on our behalf and pushing our music. We don't even think about it anymore. We just play music now.
I've never met your old man, but I have a sneaking suspicion we would get along just great. Is he a golfer, Jacob?
No, but he is the smartest person I've ever met in my life.
I love hearing a son talking about his father that way. I hope I do as well with my guys. We're going to take one more question from the chat room. Then I want to talk about building a live business, which you guys have been particularly good at. Yeah, what do you got over there, Code?
Man, we got a handful, but I'll have to pull from one of our prior questions. These can be quick ones.
If you want, I could do quick answers for you. I don't have to take this one.
Yeah, let's do some quick answers. I'll throw 3 at you right now. This first one comes from Zeta. What do you think everybody should have in mind when listening to SOJA?
They should have an open mind. I try really hard not to put periods on things because I want people to come up with their own conclusions. This is supposed to be something, I'm just stoking a fire. I'm just trying to stir some thoughts, and then you're supposed to take it from there. So you're supposed to be thinking about you.
Beautiful. So another question. Even though it's difficult, could you try and summarize what reggae means to you in just one word?
Well, I'll do you one better. I'll tell you what Bob Marley means to me. Because he to me is the biggest musical force in the world. It means the future. If we're gonna find our future, we're gonna have to look to the past. we're going to have to remember how to sustain this earth instead of consume it. There's a limited supply of water. There's a limited amount of heat that we can withstand. And we're approaching some scary stuff. And I feel like reggae's, in my life, always been the musical kind of bed that those type of messages lay on. And Bob Marley was the closest thing to a prophet I've ever seen. And that's what reggae music means to me.
Cody, uno más pregunta, por favor.
Okay, this last question says that the moment I was introduced to your band, I fell in love with real music. What motivates you the most? P.S. See you in Raleigh, North Carolina.
What motivates me is that I could possibly do more good on this earth than bad through my music. I mean, I'm just another person using air conditioning, driving a car powered by gasoline, you know, having fun and hanging out with my friends. And, you know, I give back a little bit, but I'm kind of just a regular person just trying to enjoy their life. And that's not really the way to fix the world. And I'm hoping through the music I can learn to be what I'm really meant to be and serve the purpose that I'm really supposed to serve here. And that's what drives me to do the songs.
Good stuff there. Nice rapid fire there, Code. Good work from the Trojan man over there. Let's shift gears here. You know, I want to talk about building a live business. You know, I've seen your videos. I haven't seen you in live. I hope to see you soon on a stage in the flesh. If you're going to be a successful artist out there in today's world where the cost or the price of music has been marginalized somewhat, you got to build a live business. You guys have paid a shit pile of fucking shows. Talk about, you know, how important that live show is in terms of building what you've got now. And tell me, is that the fuel that fires this band up?
Well, the live, I mean, it's not like it was, and you know that, being someone who's kind of seen how it was and how it is now. We don't generate revenue off of records. And also, you know, a live show is something you can't steal off the internet. And I'm not even really mad at people who steal music. I mean, when I was broke, I stole music all the time. I'm not gonna fucking lie. But I'm just saying, you know, you don't sell records anymore. But for me, I never sold a record. I came in so late that I don't have a reference, you know? I know guys who are like, yeah, I used to sell about 2 million every time I release, and now I sell about, you know, 120,000. I'm like, wow, this guy bought like 3 houses off of one record. But, but I mean, but bigger than money, though, because money, I mean, who gives a shit? But the real deal is that there's so much stuff you can do in the studio today to make a horrible artist sound good. And there's so many things you can do with a camera, and there's so many things you can do with the right songwriters and the right producers, that the live show really is the proof if you suck or not. And when you go to a festival, I mean, you know who sucks and who doesn't live. And we take a lot of pride in having people tell us we were their favorite thing at the festival, because that means all the practice, all the rehearsal, all the time when we could have been home in our house watching SportsCenter eating pizza, but we were at the room practicing with each other. It's paying off, because that kid just said we were the best thing at the show, and he didn't even listen to reggae before he heard us. We just blew his mind, and he bought 3 CDs and a t-shirt, and then he hugs me and walks off with a big smile on his face. That's how important the live show is.
That's payday. You know what? For the greatest bands in the world, if you couldn't do it in the flesh, I don't know if you qualify to be one of the greatest bands. For me, live is everything, and I'll say it after.
It's not real.
Yeah, 17 years of watching my friends in Incubus, and I can tell you with my hand to God that every time they get ready and the production manager says, drop the fucking lights, I don't have a whole lot of hair on the back of my neck, but it still stands up a little bit. Speaking of great places where your hair stands up, we got a ton of people here in the chat room today from South America, and I just want to say Muchas gracias por mis amigos in Sudamerica. We posted on our website, our Facebook page the other. This is how I know how deep it is. That you were going to be on the show, and there were umpteen million comments. So we have a graphic of that on our webpage. All the comments, I swear, the first 80 were in Spanish, and I've tried to speak a little bit of Spanish. You guys played down in South America for the first time back in October 2012. I want to play a little clip of that, and then I want you to talk about South America. South America, we talked about it yesterday. Man, I used to read my Playboy magazines of my grandfather about the carnival down in Rio, and I thought, oh my God, I just wanted to go down there. And I can honestly, God, say that Brazil is one place that is not overhyped. I had some high expectations. They were too low. Talk about your trip to South America.
Okay, first off, bom dia and buenos tardes. A lot of that you're reading is Portuguese, by the way. A lot of it's from Argentina. A lot of it's from Chile.
Chile.
We got some from Uruguay, some from Costa Rica, some from Puerto Rico, some from Panama, some from Nicaragua, Colombia, Venezuela. And we play all those places. We love those people. Shouts out to every one of y'all out there. I think I'm more South American than I am North American now. But we went down there 4 times last year. People in South America are very ready for change. They're ready for revolution. They're ready for new ideas. They're ready for fresh ideas. They're ready to change the world. They're ready to change their communities. They're ready to, I mean, it's beautiful being down there so much because it reminds me of my country and but before when we were cooler. People down there love revolution. Rage Against the Machine shows in South America. If you watch them, it's insane. And we I don't know what else to say. I mean, that's our biggest shows. That's our most hype audience. That's our that's 20,000 people coming out to see me and screaming every word to the song and having it tattooed on their back. And that's like the top.
Yeah, it's tough to beat that place. When I went down there the first time, I was shocked, by just the overwhelming sense of love and
beauty.
They were just, so appreciative to have you down there. I sometimes think, at the risk of sounding like an old man, that sometimes the folks in America feel a little too entitled. We've had it so well for so long that we take it for granted. But when I go to places like South America, I've never felt such an overwhelming sense of appreciation and love. And if I ever robbed a bank, I'm going to run away down to South America like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I've taken you way long here today, so I wanted you mentioned something earlier that it kind of struck a chord with me, and I'm going to play you one more little clip. In that song, We Were Younger, it seemed like you were talking about that, what you kind of touched on earlier, this idea of when you start off, you have a certain view of the world, and as you get a little bit older, and I'll still call you a kid, Jacob, but it reminded me of a conversation I had with a young gal that started in the mailroom at William Morris Agency, big-time agency. Her dream was to get involved as a music professional. And so I had her in for coffee one morning, and we filmed a little clip which started as, hey, can I just come over and have a cup of coffee? I want to play that little clip for you. I call it the 30 theory, and then I want to get your thoughts on it. Take it away, D. When you're just starting off, I say it all the time, it's a young person's business because you got to burn so hard. When you're 23 years old, for the next 7 years, you will be building your value to some artist, to some company, to William Morris Endeavor, whoever it might be. But you're mostly in the business of getting up to speed. You really don't have real critical value. So before you're 30, most people are trying to figure out what's working and what's not working. By the time you get to be 30 years old, if you haven't started to figure out what's working and doing more of it, and conversely figuring out what's not working and doing less of it, you've got no chance. You've been at this 13 years now, professionally speaking, Mr. Hemphill. What's working for you today that you want to do more of? What's not working? and you've gotten rid of, and what advice would you have for some folks out there that are dreaming about being in a band or even about being a professional?
Advice, I'd say be yourself. The music industry is saturated with fake people. As far as musicians go, if you're trying to start a band and you're trying to do something original, be yourself. Trust me, that's original. The goal in today's music is to be as fake as possible. And people always want what they can't have, so give them something they don't have. Give them something real. For me, I'm not really going to change anything at this point. I'm connecting with the people who I like to connect with. I'm working with a bunch of musicians who I respect and love, and I get to spend all my time telling people how to change the world, or at least bringing up the subject. So I'm good. All that stuff's working. Stuff that hasn't worked, we don't have to even do that stuff anymore. We got so many people that we trust behind us, helping us. But I do want to say, though, in case anybody's curious, bands evolve, bands change, and bands that stay the same are a very different kind of band. That's called a formula. So I guess another kind of piece of advice is don't be afraid to change if the change is organic and natural. And don't listen to people who criticize you for changing when you're actually making yourself closer to the true version of you. Because those people are far away from the true version of themselves. It's the same with the Bible. People who want to tell you about the Bible won't listen to your ideas about what you think God is. And people who want to tell you about your music don't want to hear what your ideas are about your music. So fuck all those people. They're stupid. That's my advice.
Jacob, I got to tell you, I've been smiling the whole time. I've always enjoyed hanging out with musicians. That's not a big secret, but I particularly enjoyed spending a little time talking with you here today.
Me too.
And I want to thank you for sharing some of your experience. And I hope that for all you folks out there watching, that you've got some things to think about, and that Mr. Hemphill here has inspired you to go on and do some great things in your own life. Jacob, I want to thank you for joining us here today. I hope to see you soon. And, you know, God, maybe one day we'll run into each other down in Brazil. I'll buy you one of those Brazilian beers.
Who knows? Anything's possible. Crazier things have happened, buddy.
Exactly. For all you folks down in South America, dream it, baby. Dream it, and maybe it'll happen. See you later, my friend. Good talking to you.
Say hi to Brandon and to Incubus for me. And just real quick, those guys are awesome. And I'm sure they get that all the time. But yeah, big inspiration. And I don't know. I'm trying to... they're fucking awesome, dude.
Well, I agree with you, and you know what? I'll probably send along your compliments in a clip here, because I couldn't agree with you more. And like yourself, their talent is only surpassed by their sense of humanity. And you, my friend, I'm sure your old man's very proud of you, and he should be. Thanks for joining us today.
Sure. Big up to Incubus. Those are real musicians.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right, folks. God, you know what? Did I ever mention how much I fucking love my job? You know, I could be some miserable critic talking about shit about the music business, but I'd rather spend my time talking with people that are a little more inspiring. Friday on the show, I have no fucking idea what we're doing. We posted a comment and everybody thought we had a big surprise on Friday. It'll be a big surprise if we have anything to talk about. So anyway, you might just get me telling a few jokes. Maybe I'll call up my buddy Jason Flom. I think Flom and I should do this show together. He could be the New York equivalent, the comedy act in it. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining us today. I want to thank all of our friends from South America, all of you SOJA fans that have joined us today. We're going to be posting some clips from my friend Mr. Hemphill. I really enjoyed the heck out. I hope you did too. My name is Steve Rennie. The website's called RenmanMusicandBusiness.com. Our show is called Renman Live, and I will see you on Friday. Man, we'll come up with something. See you later.